Thumbs up.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the most must-see award-winning show to ever hit the Bedford TV airwaves, or any airwaves for that matter. North, south, east, west, backwards, frontwards, diagonally, sideways, any which way you look at it, all around the world, the Wrestling Connection. The Wrestling Connection. I am your host, as always, your connection to the wrestling world. Your fedorable felon, your perfect Ken, Mr. Ken Hill, delivering all the news to you in professional wrestling today. In the studio with me is, of course, the infamous former WK King of Pay-Per-View champion, Mr. Greg Dolan. We had a brand new queen of pay-per-view champion, Miss Julie Manugian. Sadly, she cannot be here on the show today, but I send her my best congratulations. And of course, with Julie having cashed in her Big Four pay-per-view title, your brand new two-time Big Four pay-per-view champion, yours truly, Mr. Ken Hill. Congrats, of course, go out to, well, me and everyone who made this possible. So, again, me. Thank you. But anyway, enough about me. Point being is now I have until Survivor Series in November to cash this baby in. That still leaves quite a few pay-per-views to consider just when and where I will cash this baby in, if I do decide to cash it in at all. Anyway, though, as you can see, we're a bit low tech. We're going a little old school on the Wrestling Connection. Got the desk. We got the old school poster. Of course, we don't have the green screen. We have the classic black screen. So, oh yeah, we're going way back. We're going way back in time to the Wrestling Connection's young years of the Wrestling Connection. But of course, that was then, and I'm here to bring you the here and now. That is SummerSlam 2017, and our SummerSlam 2017 pay-per-review, view. A couple extra views just for all of you. So anyway, we do have a lot to go over, but I will try to be as quick and succinct as possible. We start things off, of course, the kickoff matches. The first being the six-man tag team match from the Raw side, The Miz and the Miztourage versus Jason Jordan and the Hardys. Now, this is originally scheduled to be the Hardys versus the recently returned Revival. However, the Revival have become much the way of Hideo Itami of the tag team division. They can't catch a break when it comes to injuries. So unfortunately, while they are sitting on the shelf once again, the Hardys are adrift in the tag team ranks and find themselves teaming with Jason Jordan to combat the Miztourage. Now, unfortunately for this particular match, it was literally the first match on the card, considering they had 3 kickoff matches, and considering that not everyone had quite settled into the Barclays Center before SummerSlam could truly start. They didn't exactly have a rapt, attentive audience. They essentially had little to no audience at all, which didn't do much favors for Jason Jordan, who has been trying to find his niche since coming over to his father's, Kurt Angle's Raw. Jordan's been trying to find his feet. He's been trying to get the ball rolling, trying to live up to everything that his newly discovered father may very well expect of him. Now, unfortunately, though, he came up on the short end of the stick as Jordan and the Hardys lost to The Miz and Miztourage. Miz capitalizing on Jordan's inexperience, being on his own, capitalizing on a blind tag, hitting him with the skull-crushing finale, and picking up the win in what was a very inconsequential kind of match. Now, what was frustrating about this was many were expecting this to go the other way. People were expecting Jordan to get the win over Miz, put himself in line for the Intercontinental title, but I think I'm fine with that, actually, because I kind of have a theory about this. I'll be short about it. I think that if you remember back to when Kurt first came around WWE, in his first year in WWE, Kurt Angle had one of the greatest rookie years in professional wrestling history. European champion, Intercontinental champion, holding both at the same time, and beating The Rock for the WWF championship. So pretty much one of the greatest first years any wrestler could hope to have in professional wrestling, let alone WWE. And yet Jordan has not had the same run of luck in his first month or so on the Raw roster. I mean, yeah, he's had a couple of wins over local jobbers, but he came up short against The Miz in tag team action, put on a subpar pre-show match where there wasn't even much of an audience to begin with, and lost on a challenge to Finn Balor the following night on Raw. So it leads me to think that maybe that Kurt Angle's trying not to fall into the hole of being the long lost father who's trying to make up for lost time, trying to think, oh, I should give Jordan these opportunities even if he's not truly ready for them. Maybe I should try to help him get the accolade that I have, the respect that I have with the WWE universe. The point is, Kurt is a professional first. I mean, he's very much so. Okay, he lives, breathes, and eats professional wrestling. That's who he is. That's who he's always been. So the point is, he would want Jordan to earn his credentials. He would want Jordan to earn his opportunities, not because Kurt Angle is his father, not because he has someone famous who happens to be in charge of Monday Night Raw. He wants Jordan to earn his opportunities like everyone else, and earn those accolades, earn those opportunities, and earn the respect that Angle himself worked very hard to earn. As Angle so succinctly put it one time, those "you suck" chants, he earned those "you suck" chants. So Jordan's got a way to go. The fact that the crowd's indifferent to him right now isn't good, but maybe that's the motivation here. Maybe that's what, we were all expecting him to get a major push because he's Kurt Angle's son. Maybe it's just the opposite. Maybe Angle doesn't want to push Jordan in fear that people will think it's a case of nepotism. It was something that Goldust had to deal with early on in his career when Dusty Rhodes was a booker back in his heyday. Goldust didn't want the stigma of having a father for a booker, so he tried to do everything he could to avoid working under Dusty and working everything against being booked by his own father, being booked unfairly by family. That's something he had to really work against his entire career. So I feel like maybe Kurt Angle's in the same, and it's sort of inverted right here. Kurt Angle's the one in charge, but he doesn't want Jordan to fall into that mindset that, oh, just because Kurt Angle's my father, I should have these opportunities. And I think that may very, in that same vein, that may well lead to a heel turn. Maybe that Jordan feels like he's obliged these opportunities, that he is owed them, just because all the time that Angle may very well have known that Jordan was his son, but never got involved, never did anything to encourage him or let him know that he was there. I think that maybe this could lead to something interesting if WWE decides to go in that direction. All right, this leads to the next match. Now, this was the first in a number of title changes. I'm talking about the Cruiserweight Championship match. Some I understood. Some I got the idea, the notion behind it. But the Cruiserweight title, first of all, having to change 6 days, having to match alone was bad. But then, having the title change to have Tozawa win was a great pop. Got a nice little ratings pop, a nice little moment for Tozawa and Titus, and Titus worldwide. But the problem is that, okay, either you kept the reign, either you served a very ignominious end to Neville's reign, or you hotshot the title back to Neville like it almost never happened, like it was a little more than a hiccup. The latter of which they did. They hotshot the title back to Neville. They had him win over Tozawa in what was a fast-paced, intense match that ended when Neville countered the the top rope's senton, knees to the back, followed by a red arrow to the back to get the win. I just didn't quite understand what was the point of putting the title on Tozawa in the first place if you're just going to just hot potato it right back to Neville. I mean, it doesn't do Tozawa any favors, and it doesn't really do Neville any favors. The fact that you had to, okay, why not just keep the belt on him? Or better yet, why not keep the belt on Tozawa and take it in a different direction? I mean, okay, Neville had reigned for a solid, 7 months as Cruiserweight champion, okay? Maybe it was time to take it in a different direction because there's really not many others left to pose a potential challenge to Neville, and our fears were pretty much confirmed when, of all people, they debuted on 205 Live, Enzo Amore. Okay, first off, it's going to be a true test. It's going to be a true test for Neville's abilities to get Enzo, of all people, over. Second of all, okay, you went from having guys like Tozawa and Jack Gallagher and Austin Aries with discernible quality in-ring talent to Enzo Amore, who wrestles probably as good as I do, and that ain't saying much. That's what I don't quite understand right here is why they're doing this. Is why they're pushing Enzo on 205 Live. I mean, I called it more or less. I called it a month or so ago when I thought that Cass was going to dispatch of Enzo, and one of the possibilities that came up was Enzo going on to 205 Live or being a manager. I was far more hoping he would just stick to being a manager or a mouthpiece or an announcer because, okay, the guy can't wrestle. Everyone says he can't wrestle. Cass says he can't wrestle. Show says he can't wrestle. Simon Gotch, who isn't with WWE anymore, says that, okay, what you saw with Enzo in the ring, that's pretty much him in real life. The guy can't wrestle worth a spit. So, I mean, either Neville is going to bring Enzo up to a decent enough level of wrestling and make him look good, a la Shawn Michaels wrestling with a broomstick, or, okay, Enzo's going to end up dragging Neville and the entirety of the quality of the Cruiserweight division down. I mean, it's really not much of it's a win-lose scenario right here. Either they make Enzo look good, which, again, not saying much, or Enzo makes the Cruiserweight division look even more pathetic than it's already had in the last few months. Outside of the Cruiserweight Championship, of course. All right, that brings us to the third and final kickoff match. Now this championship match, I thought had a good. I think it was probably one of the top matches of the night, alongside the Raw Tag Team title match, which we'll get to in a little bit. The SmackDown Tag Team Championship. The Usos challenging the New Day. I honestly thought that the New Day were going to move on here. I thought there were more potential challengers on the heel side to go face the Usos. I thought that maybe either we'd see a heel change for the Hype Bros outright, or we'd see them split up. I thought maybe we'd see the debut of the Authors of Pain as being the ones who kept jumping Breezango in all their little mystery skits. I thought that'd be the case, but apparently they feel like that there's more potential of the Usos reigning atop as tag team champions, which I think is just perfectly fine. The Usos have gone out of the way in 2017 to revamp themselves as a very aggressive, technically sound heel team. We've seen a heck of a lot more personality in them than we saw in the last couple of years as heels. So I like that. I like what we see now of the Usos. So this is one time where they do a title switch where I'm not thrown off by it. I actually approve of it. I think, okay, all right, it was good. You gave New Day a landmark win with having now won both the Raw and SmackDown tag team titles. But, okay, I mean, you obviously weren't going to go long-term again here with the New Day, so it was best to get the belts back under the Usos so you can have the face teams like Dillinger and Zayn. You can maybe have Breezango or the Hype Bros step up and challenge them. We'll see who steps up. It'll be interesting because none of the teams have really stepped forward to challenge the Usos, but we'll see what happens. All right, so that leads us into the show proper. One of the first matches, the first match being John Cena versus Baron Corbin. Now, this one I thought was just, it kind of fell flat. I mean, given that Cena cost Corbin probably the biggest opportunity he's had in his career to date, cashing in on a prone Jinder Mahal, WWE champion, that Cena himself softened up. So it would have been like almost poetic justice for this to happen. Instead, Cena ends up interfering after Corbin's cash in Money in the Bank. Mahal rolls up Corbin, gets the 3 count, leads into the, costs Corbin his Money in the Bank opportunity. Just straight up. He's literally like the first one to challenge and then lose in dismal fashion as well as he did. As badly as he did. And you would think that he would come out guns blazing. You think Corbin would be so incensed, so ticked off at Cena, that he would just forego the match and just pursue Cena relentlessly and just beat the absolute crap out of him. And instead, you had basically just like, it was like a cookie cutter, like TV match. And nothing to write home about. Crowd popped a little for the AA and Cena finally breaking his 0-6 SummerSlam losing streak. But it didn't do anything to me, and I feel it. And instead of sending Cena off to Raw after having Corbin just beat the absolute bejesus out of him, he had Cena go off, the triumphant hero, even though he did a heel thing by costing Corbin Money in the Bank. It's just, I'm stumped on this one. Corbin's just been slipping further and further downhill. And I know that originally, like with Money in the Bank booking, like you're supposed to book these guys as dismally as possible. So like when they cash in, you don't see it coming. You think, oh, there's no way they're going to win. But then when the guy just flat out loses anyway, much like Damian Sandow did, where do you go from there? There's really nowhere to go there for Corbin. Unless supposedly the rumored feud with him and Styles for the U.S. title means that maybe he'll take a step up and win the championship. That would be fine. That would be a step in the right direction. But I'm just saying, okay, we knew the Mahal experiment is most likely on its last legs. Okay, no one is for Mahal. Okay, he hasn't stood out as WWE champion, but I'll get to that a little later. And you would think that would be a good place to say, let's do a change right here. Let's cut our losses. Let's take the belt off Mahal. Let's put it on Corbin, maybe like for a cup of coffee, and see how he manages it. See how he manages it as a heel champion. See how effective he is. And instead, we don't get that. And it's more the same. And it begs the question, okay, Road Dogg, I know, Road Dogg, I know you're in charge of the booking here, but are you kidding me, man? Are you kidding me with this? Okay? Mahal's a failure as a champion, okay? It's not going to matter once he goes over to India, okay? Because now you're basically just ripping off Sanjay Dutt and Global Force Wrestling. And I can't believe I'm saying that WWE is actually ripping off Global Force Wrestling, i.e. Impact Wrestling, i.e. TNA, of all things. And I think that's just kind of sad that, okay, that's you're following a trend rather than starting one in sports entertainment. I think that's just kind of sad, to be honest. Point being, okay, so that's my 2 cents. Anyway, moving on from Corbin and Cena. Obviously, we've seen Cena show up on Raw. Corbin's, like I said, feuding with AJ for the United States Championship, which leads me into the United States Championship match with AJ going against Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon, special referee. Now, this was another solidly put together match. It wasn't quite the blowaway match I think everyone was expecting, but it was a great. There were great exchanges between the two, plenty of near falls, false finishes off the phenomenal forearm, and a pop-up power bomb. Of course, you had the ref spots with Shane, which was to be expected. I know a lot of people think that Shane being the special referee took a lot of focus away from the match, made it more about Shane and KO than Shane and AJ, but you have to understand, that was the point, okay? This is the feud we've been expecting right here, Shane versus KO. So within the context, it worked just fine. It didn't take away from the match. All right, Shane did his ref spots just fine. Okay, he nearly made a mistake counting AJ down for the 3 when AJ had his foot on the rope, and Shane waved it off, and then there you go. Ultimately led to AJ retaining his championship. So now Owens is incensed. thinks that Shane screwed him, wants a rematch this time with Baron Corbin as the referee, except if KO loses this time, he can never challenge for the U.S. title as long as AJ is champion. So what happens? Corbin calls the match down the middle for the most part until Owens pushes Styles into Corbin, but Corbin takes it the wrong way, tries to fast count AJ shoulders down when Owens has him pinned, and when Shane tried to come out and try to get things back up and running and not have Corbin make a bad decision. He and Corbin were arguing. Corbin doesn't see the low blow by Owens on AJ in their match on SmackDown. Shane pulls Corbin out before he can make an illicit 3 count. And Corbin says, you know what, basically, screw this. Takes the ref shirt, throws it in Shane's face. Shane dons the ref gear since Corbin's abandoned his post. He becomes special referee. Styles capitalizes with a stun gun. Phenomenal form, 3 count. And now Owens is, as far for the time being, is permanently out of the U.S. title chase. So now it makes the perfect setup. I really didn't think they needed the additional match right here, but it works. Okay, it sets up the feud with Shane and KO, gets Styles away from Owens after more or less definitively beating him, and now it sets up a feud between Corbin and Styles, since Corbin wanted first crack at AJ when he did his open challenge. All right, so there you go. Now, let's go back over to the Raw side. We've got the Raw Tag Team titles. The Raw Tag Team titles. Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins challenging Cesaro and Sheamus. Again, another fun, action-packed match. I like the intensity and the aggressiveness of Cesaro and Sheamus at the beginning. They realized as a makeshift tag team themselves that, that Rollins and Ambrose had a very tenuous connection, that they just, see what I did there? A very tenuous connection, their friendship had just gotten back on track, and the tag champs were going to do all they could to derail it. I thought that was great. They were aggressive from the get-go, tried to show the cracks in the Rollins-Ambrose partnership. I thought that was good heel psychology for their match. Ultimately, Rollins and Ambrose did manage to stick to it. They kept coming back, eventually pulling off a fantastic win with a interesting combination of a ripcord knee strike, courtesy of Kenny Omega from New Japan, from Seth Rollins, and the Dirty Deeds from Dean Ambrose, and picking up the 3 count and the tag team titles, the Raw tag team titles. Kudos to 2/3 of the former Shield. I thought it was a great payoff to their reunion. I thought the title switch made perfect sense. I mean, let's face facts, okay? It wouldn't have meant as much if they couldn't have pulled off the tag team title win to cap off their pardon Bobby Roode, glorious reunion. But so good for them. Now, obviously, you're going to have Cesaro and Sheamus now on the low end of the totem pole. Now they're chasing Ambrose and Rollins. So it'll be interesting to see if we just have a once-off right here between these two teams, or if maybe it leads to another stip match, maybe another steel cage match, or a ladder match, or actually maybe even a tag team title Hell in the Cell match. I actually don't think we've had one of those, so that could be very interesting. Well, actually, oh no, Hell in the Cell is a SmackDown pay-per-view, so that might be a little tricky. But they could still do something along those lines, just to give the feud an extra oomph and give Ambrose and Rollins a solid, definitive win as the tag team champions. All right, so now we move on from there from one of the high points of SummerSlam to one of the low points. I'm talking about Big Show versus Big Cass with Enzo Amore trapped in a shark cage. And much like that cage, this feud jumped the shark so very much. I mean, face facts. Let's look at it this way. The most entertaining aspect of this match was when Enzo pretty much stripped down to his skivvies, lubed himself up with baby oil, Yeah, I know. Not exactly a pretty sight or one to imagine. So, I know we don't have an image, thank God, but if you still need to turn away, by all means. And slip out of the cage, basically try to lower himself down, only to lower himself down into a big boot by Big Cass. So all the good that did. And then Cass just basically laid out Big Show with a pair of big boots, Empire Elbow for the 3 count. And I mean, this went twice as long as it should have. Cass did get the win, which was the point. Of this. It was for Cass to go over Show. But the fact that it took him that long to dispatch Show, who's aging, who hasn't been a champion or even a remote threat in years in WWE. So you would think that would be the end of this. Instead, they had a street fight between Enzo and Big Cass the following night on Raw. Everything's going smoothly. It looks like Cass is about to dispatch Enzo, brutally so. And instead, unfortunate timing, Cass suffers a legit ACL tear to his right leg. Basically, he can't get up. The refs have to call the match. They actually award the match to Enzo. So instead of just calling the match, instead of calling it a no contest like they probably should have, they instead called the match and awarded it to Enzo. So unfortunately, that did less for Enzo, in my mind, and actually did more to hurt Cass. I mean, the only saving grace is, and this has been discussed all this week, is that this is saving grace for Cass, okay? It gives him a few months off the road, gives him a chance to, get back into physical shape, gives him a chance to work on his promos, which is something that had been a critical point for many fans since Cass split from Enzo. Work on expanding his moveset, get a new song, something mainstream, or a Jim Johnston piece, since he usually never fails when it comes to WWE music. So I think, if anything, as much as I don't like to say it, I'm happy that he's injured. I think this ACL tear, this knee surgery, is a blessing in disguise for Big Cass. But regardless, we still wish Cass nothing but the best. And speaking of medical statuses in WWE, I'm happy to announce that although he is still hospital bound, Nature Boy Ric Flair has come out of surgery, despite his numerous organ failures and blockages. Rick is on the road to recovery, I'm happy to say, and everyone here at the Wrestling Connection and Bedford TV wish the Nature Boy nothing but a speedy recovery. Here's looking at you, Nate. All right, so moving on from there. All right, so we covered the tag team titles on both Raw and SmackDown. We covered Enzo and Cass, the Cruiserweight title. I mean, yeah, we had a lot of matches to go through. Corbin and Cena. So let's see, we had the Raw tag team titles, SmackDown tag team titles, Cruiserweight title, Enzo versus Cass, Cena versus Corbin. Let's see. I'm losing count. I'm losing my mind. I lost my green screen. I lost I lost my staff. I lost my co-stars. I'm going nuts here. All right, so that brings us to, well, let's just go to the WWE title match. The WWE title match. I gotta say, well, first of all, it didn't go the way I was expecting. If anything, it went much the same way that Orton's feud with Jinder Mahal did. This was Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE title. Unfortunately, it ended much the same way as, like I said, as Mahal's matches did with Orton. Basically, Mahal fumbling around for like 10, 12 minutes, and then Shinsuke, and then the Singh brothers coming in, interfering on his behalf, and then pretty much wrestling most of the match, doing more wrestling against Shinsuke than Mahal ever did all match, and Mahal picking up the pieces and capitalizing for the win. Now, here's the thing. I get that there have been lots of cowardly heel champions that have used outside help over the years. I'm well aware of that. I mean, there's Edge, there's Miz, there's Miz and the Miztourage. There's Triple H and Evolution. There's Edge and La Familia. Okay, there have been lots of heels who have used outside interference over the years to win matches, to retain their championships. But somewhere down the line, they ultimately had to prove themselves inside the ring against other opposition using nothing but their in-ring skills, their in-ring psychology. I mean, Edge versus The Undertaker, Triple H versus Chris Benoit, Triple H versus Kurt Angle, Triple H versus The Rock, Triple H versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. All right, and you look at The Miz versus Dean Ambrose, The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler. Ultimately, they all came out on top one way or another because they proved ultimately that they could be better on their own against the opposition. All right, so that's my problem with Mahal right here. The fact is, he can't get the job done. He literally can't get the job done without the Singh brothers. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's a championship match. It doesn't matter if it's a match on SmackDown. Okay, it could be a match on Superstars for all we care, and Mahal will still use the Singh brothers. Okay, because he can't get anything done on his own. That's the problem right here. That's the big problem, the glaring Indian elephant in the room. And I'm sorry to say it like that, but it's true. Okay, he can't get the job done on his own. And it hasn't been established that he can get the job done on his own. We haven't seen any proof he can get the job done on his own. He hasn't been booked to be able to get the job done on his own. He hasn't even been booked as a good in-ring technician. He's not a good wrestler. He knows all 3 moves, including his finisher and a running knee, and basically his other move is getting the Singh brothers to interfere in his matches. Okay? When that's the whole basis of your in-ring acumen, your in-ring psychology, it doesn't work. It gets old really, really quick. And that's what needs to change, okay? If they're gonna keep the Mahal experiment going, even though I frankly think they should have pulled the plug right here, if they're gonna keep the experiment going, they need to add a new wrinkle to his in-ring acumen. Give us something different about Mahal that we can hate, okay? Because eventually people are just going to stop caring about Mahal. They're going to stop caring about the Singh brothers getting involved, okay? They're basically going to say, they're going to just like set their watches, and they can set their watches by when the Singh brothers are going to get. Okay, 7 minutes of the match. Here come the Singh brothers to help Mahal retain his championship. Okay, it's not going to be a surprise anymore. All right. Now, obviously, they're keeping the Nakamura-Mahal feud going, which is fine. Okay, I think hopefully this time it will have the proper payoff with Nakamura getting his due win, and I think this would be the way to go. Okay, as far as marketing goes, you've got way more value, and with all due respect to the great nation of India, okay, you've got far more market value with a country as densely populated as Japan as you do to India. Okay, with all due respect. Okay, I'm not trying to start like an international incident here. Okay, but I'm just saying putting the championship on Nakamura would be better, not just from a fan perspective, also from a marketing perspective. Put the championship on Shinsuke, and I guarantee you will have far more of an outpouring from Japan than you could ever hope to have from India for Mahal, who, as I remind people, wasn't even born in India. He was born in Canada by way of India. So he's not even a native. He's not even a native of India, mind you. He was only born by way of it. By the by. Okay. Sorry about that. I thought as I keep things short, I guess I can't. I guess I had a hard time keeping that promise. All right. So moving on from there. All right. So we covered Corbin versus Cena. We covered the Raw tag team titles, the SmackDown tag team titles, the Cruiserweight title, the U.S. title, the 6-man tag team match. We had Mahal versus Nakamura. We had Enzo versus Big Cass. All right, I'm thinking. Oh my goodness, I'm thinking. I'm drawing a blank, please. I'm drawing a blank. Yes, the Raw and SmackDown women's title matches. The Raw women's title. Sasha Banks challenging Alexa Bliss. Now, I thought this was a good aggressive match. We know these two have legit heat with each other, dating back to their time in NXT. So you expect a certain level of aggression between these two. We saw that. Surprising outcome, I thought, even though I did predict it, was Sasha upending Alexa, clean as a whistle, with no involvement whatsoever from Bayley or Nia or anyone. Sasha getting the win over Alexa. Now, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a good result. Basically, Alexa did some good work with the arm and the shoulder of Sasha, try to fight her way out of the bank statement at one point, only to fall victim to another, and ultimately end up tapping out. Sasha celebrating her win, only to find out that she's got a rematch against Alexa next Monday night on Raw. Now, I think this is interesting. Now, it'll be interesting to see if Bayley gets involved right here, because like I pointed out online, as I pointed out in the review, the only reason Sasha even had a modicum of an opportunity to face for Alexa for the Women's Championship on Raw was because of Bayley's unfortunately timed shoulder injury. I mean, she had to fight her way through not just one triple threat match, she had to fight her way through Nia Jax. So the only reason she even had a remote opportunity was because of Bayley. So I think it'll be interesting to see if Bayley gets involved this time around and helps Sasha retain, only maybe even turn heel on her and say, you know what, okay, the only reason you're even women's champion is because of me, and you didn't even think to offer me a match. I think they could go that. I think it'd be interesting to see if they go that route. Will they? Maybe, maybe not. WWE can be very wishy-washy when it comes to booking the women's division on either brand, so remains to be seen. Now, the SmackDown women's title match really took me by surprise because I was not expecting it. A lot of people, I don't think, were expecting this. Apparently, though, a lot of smart money, though, was put on Natalya to win the SmackDown women's title, and she did. I mean, she did. Shocker to me, anyway. That she managed to pull off just basically a straight up win, basically grounding Naomi the entire time, wearing her down to the point where she could put her in the sharpshooter, and get the big tap out win. And now it's interesting. Now you got the dichotomy right here of Carmella chasing another heel in Natalya for the SmackDown Women's title. You got Naomi coming up with her due rematch, getting a pinning win over Natalya in tag team action this past Tuesday on SmackDown. So hopefully it's more or less building momentum towards her eventual rematch. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes. If maybe they hotshot the title back to Naomi, or if they keep the title on Natalya for the foreseeable future. I mean, Natalya, like I said, has been long overdue for a championship win. I didn't think she'd ever actually hold it again, but we'll see where she goes with this. But anyway, good for Natalya. And congrats to the Hart family on their latest championship accolade. All right, now if I am not mistaken, I believe that actually does bring us to our main event.
Couple more minutes.
All right, are we at the? Did I miss anything? Did I miss any other matches?
No, I think so. No, I think we're at the main event.
All right, we're at the main event? Okay, so we're at the main event. Fatal 4-way for Raw's Universal Championship. Brock Lesnar, the champion, being challenged by not just Roman Reigns, not just Samoa Joe, but Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, and Braun Strowman. So a big-time challenge for Lesnar, and this was every bit the hard-hitting, dragged-down, knuckle-pounding match that you could come to expect from four of the most brutal superstars that WWE has to offer. I mean, this had everything. This had Strowman throwing chairs, this had spears, this had coquina clutches, it had suplexes, it had F5s, it had Strowman doing what Strowman does best and just destroy everyone and everything. And it just, including and aside from Roman Reigns, of course. Now, what I liked about this, what I liked about this match in particular was how Strowman was subtly built up by WWE. I like the subtle booking right here, if you looked very carefully at this. The fact that Lesnar, for the most part, dominated Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns. Suplex, like I said, suplexes, F5s, tossing him all about. Lesnar more or less had their number. In fact, Lesnar even picked up the eventual victory by countering a spear from Roman Reigns into an F5 for the win. Retained his championship. But that's not the story. You see, at one point, Lesnar wasn't even in the match because Strowman basically dominated him, power slammed him not through one announce table, but two announce tables, took the third announce table and deadlifted it onto a prone champion, trapping him beneath and nearly crushing his legs. So at one point, Strowman had Lesnar taken out of the match, only for Brock to make a near miraculous return, which was expected. What wasn't expected was he really couldn't even tear into Strowman in revenge. He tried suplexing him, couldn't do it. Tried getting up for an F5, couldn't do it. Even tried trapping him to Kimura, and Strowman was pretty much standing with Lesnar just kind of dangling off of his arm the entire time, like a Christmas ornament. Like a big, beefy Christmas ornament. And in the end, I mean, it was only because of an errant spear by Reigns that Brock was even able to take Strowman down. That even Strowman was able to be kept down long enough for anyone to get a pin on anyone else, which, like I said, ended up being Lesnar over Reigns to retain his championship. So, no surprise that the next night when Heyman is singing the praises of Lesnar, having retained his championship against three of the toughest men in WWE, out comes Strowman, and you could tell, if you look at the reaction in Brock's face, the moment Strowman makes his entrance, you realize that Lesnar knows he's in trouble, because Strowman was the one man in the match the night before, he could not take down by himself. So, and what happens? He and Strowman face off. Braun lays out Lesnar with another pair of power slams, and the champion is left laying once again. So now, the first match made for Raw's No Mercy pay-per-view is Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar 1-on-1 for the Universal Championship. Now, before we sign off right here, the big question will be on everyone's mind is, not only should Braun Strowman win the championship, but will he win the championship? As far as the should goes, look, Braun has been slowly but assuredly built up as the next big wrestling monster in WWE. He's been indomitable, darn near indestructible. He's destroyed everything in his path. He's destroyed Big Show. He's destroyed Mark Henry. He's even destroyed Roman Reigns on a number of occasions. Vince McMahon's proverbial golden goose. Strowman has come out pretty much on top in every single occasion, and he's been built up as one of the most indomitable individuals in WWE in the past year and a half. So do I think he's personally ready for a Universal title run? You're darn right. I think he's ready. I think he's ready and raring to go. Do I think they will pull the trigger on this? Do I think they will have him steamroll Lesnar and take the Universal Championship from him in the same way Lesnar took the WWE title from John Cena at SummerSlam in 2014? Could be. But again, that's Vince's whim. Does Vince feel like that Strowman is ready to take that big top spot? Does he feel like he's ready to take the reins of being wrestling indomitable monster from Brock Lesnar? Again, remains to be seen, and we'll have just a couple weeks until No Mercy, and until we'll find out. But for now, that is all for the Wrestling Connection. I'd like to thank Greg Dolan for helping me out in the studio today.
Easy one.
Oh, very, very easy one. No switcher, no green screen, but we pulled it off all the same. Fabulously. But in the meantime, you all have a good extended weekend. Happy Labor Day to you all. And we'll see you all next Friday for episode 183 of the Wrestling Connection. So in the meantime, though, remember to be connected, get connected, stay connected. Yeah.